According to recent protests by economists, Indonesia's GDP or gross domestic product is expected to be ranked number 4 globally by 2050. This is an interesting knowledge that I learned in the class of Global Economy and International Business, part of the Executive MBA Program in IPMI International Business School. I am Astrid, class of September 2022. Please continue watching to see what else that I learned in the class. Yeah, so here you see this is the mind map of what I learned in the class, the overview. So 5 big points of global economy and international business. Number 1, economic globalization. Number 2, international business. Number 3, the risk. Number 4, financial crisis. And the number 5, fun study exercise. Let's start with the number 1, economic globalization. So here we learn the concept of how economic globalization happens. Drivers, mainly 3 of these: digitalization, capital mobility, and trade liberalizations, where it forms a new economy where there are new market structure, new model, industry structure. So it's a disruption to the classic economy. And we learned the history of how the economy changing globally over the time. This is a graph of 2,000 years of economic history in a chart. It shows how the major powers changed back then, 2,000 years ago. The major powers comes from Eastern country, and then later it becomes to the West, and now it gets back to the East. The drive of the changes is innovation. Basically, it's the Industrial Revolution. While in the present time, if we see Indonesia, in 2020, our gross domestic product or GDP, we ranked 16th and projected rank 4th by 2050. This is a very interesting news. I'm very excited, and Indonesia needs for competitiveness to be better in this. Are in these 5 sectors: healthcare, labor market, infrastructure, innovation, and skills. And Indonesia currently is on the right track. So everyone who's watching this video, let's build Indonesia mainly in these 5 sectors, so that we can emerge more to be the top in global economy. Next, we move to international business or global trade. Here we learn so many things. Here you see there are 5 tentacles. The first one, we learn about absolute advantage and comparative advantage. So in global market, we don't talk only about the absolute advantage, the advantage that is heritage or like inherited by a country, but we also need to see the comparative advantage, which means like the ability, a specialized ability based on the skills or the resources. So to make the most, every country should collaborate, considering the comparative advantage, so we can get the most efficient and the most effective result in the global market, supply and demand. And we learn about international opportunities, how actually compared to domestic firm. Of course, if you go multinational, if you go international, you will have a higher marginal return on project and bigger financing opportunities. Now we move to the international financial management. There are several things here, and many of them we have learned in corporate finance. The new one will be this one: manage currency risk and manage the diversity of international accounting and tax practices. We will go deeper in the risk section. And next, we also learn about the tariff and quota in international trade. So tariff and quota are government means to control or to protect the domestic production. Next, we also learn about international strategies and organization. We see that there are diversification that comes from the pressure for cost reduction and for local responsiveness. And you see there are types of strategy, like either it's a global standardization, a transnational, localization, and etc. And it is in line with the fact that basically if you go international, you have to find the balance between standardization or from global integration and the adaptation with local culture. So there's a need to meet in the middle based on your customer target marketing. Next, we move to number 3. We talk about risk in international business. We learn many of it. So the risk in international business, it can be the cross-cultural risk, commercial, country risk, and currency risk. It's self-explanatory. We focus more with currency risk. Here, it's divided to foreign taxation and exchange rate. And we got to learn what affects the exchange rate. You can see here inflation, restriction, interest rate, etc. And we also learn how to calculate this, the exchange rate, the foreign taxation, to understand the implication of currency risk to global business. Now we go to number 4. Here we learn about global financial crisis. Mainly we learn about the subprime mortgage crisis. This happened in US in 2008. Here we dive deep what happened, what was the root cause, and what to do next, what we can learn. And there are interesting things like the special purpose companies that was that they were great there. So we can see how people can manipulate, of course, in many sectors in life, including in global economy. And we also learn about the recent Silicon Valley Bank collapse. This is not a global crisis, but it's just an example of a classic bank run for technology-based bank. And there are other banks that then follow this collapse, like the Credit Suisse. So we got to understand or learn how the implication of a global risk, it can lead to bankruptcy as well. And the last item here is the fun study exercise in my class. Here, I just highlight some interesting things that we did. We have a guest lecture session by Matt Cinder. He shared an interesting case study about cross-border business partnership. And there's a group project of book review. In this case, my group got assignment on the book The World is Curved. An interesting task of this mind map. And also we conducted it's a group project too of event analysis. My group got the impact of global COVID pandemic. And there are also other fun excitement, which is a class project. It's a video of doing business in Indonesia and analysis report of global strategy of one of the multinational companies. So once I expand this mind map, you can see how they are all interconnected. There are so many connections here and there. Of course, the course of this subject is global economy and international business. After watching and joining this class, for sure I got to understand more holistic knowledge and understanding in how to do business globally. So that's all, and thank you for listening.